Hi all and welcome back to another episode where we are using the Bronze Age mods. So, hi all and welcome back to this newest episode where we again play with the Bronze Age mod in Crusader Kings III. This time we are going to try and form Phoenicia. Fun fact about this is that Phoenicia never has been a kingdom. It was not a nation. It was just a sort of confederation of different city-states. Of course, this will be different in the game because I'm going to try to form the kingdom of Phoenicia, of course. But back then it was, as I said, a confederation of different city-states, from which a few probably how do you say that? They became really important back then and do still exist nowadays. That are, for example, cities of Sidon, Byblos, and Tyre, or Tyre. Tyre probably. In this episode, we are going to play as the kingdom of Tyre, as you can see over here. Sidon is over here, and Byblos is not really on this map, but that was situated around here somewhere. The area that was called Phoenicia kind of existed from the north up here. That's the city-state of Suxi, the area, and then in a sort of bow it went kind of like this all the way down to Dor over here, and then on the east side it's like with Hermel, a little bit of this northern part here, the mountain range, and then goes slowly down towards this part over here, and mainly alongside the coast, because the Phoenicians were known as outstanding traders. They were trading from here all the way around the North African coast, all the way to Spain and to the islands of Sardinia and Sicily, for example. So yeah, they had quite some trade routes going on. They also founded a lot of cities. For example, Malaga in the southern part of Spain, but also the city of Calgary on Sardinia, back then known as Caralis, but also the city of Carthago. You probably remember that one, famous due to the war with the Roman Empire, and completely burned down as well, of course. But yeah, that was kind of what the Phoenician area was. Well, we are only going to focus on the mainland over here in the Middle East, so to say. As I said before, it was not a kingdom. It were city-states that shared a common language and culture, which made it work between the cities. Each city-state was kind of his own kingdom, so he had his own royal families, so to say, and that's also why I choose for one of the best known city, and that's the one of Tyre, or Tyre. I'm going to call it Tyre, so if I pronounce it wrong, please let me know. Phoenicia kind of started to exist around 2500 BC. There might already been cities or something around that or before that time, but from what we know so far, it's like 2500 BC until 64 BC, when it kind of became a vassal or merely got destroyed by the Roman Empire. But in that time it already was vassal of the Babylonians, the Persians, Assyrians, and also of the Hellenistic culture, so for example Alexander the Great. So yeah, interesting things. Fun facts about the city-state of Tyre. It is the oldest continuously inhabited city of the world. So you can imagine that there are already like living people since 2500 BC, or even before that till now. The city still exists. As the same with Sidon and Byblos, by the way. Those cities still exist, so you can imagine like that's just incredible to walk there, of course. Another thing, it says it is the birthplace of the sisters Europa and Dido, or Dido, how you want to pronounce it. Europa is kind of where the continent Europe is called, named after. But she's also the mother of King Minos, which you probably remember from my episode about Crete with the Minoan kingdom, where he was one of the kings. And Dido is the founder of the city of Carthago, which I already explained, of course. In this episode, I am going to play with Baal Ezer the First, or Baleazer. Its name. His name is written in so many ways, but it's always starting with Ba, and it kind of ends with Ezer. So yeah, it's. But I just took this one because yeah, it looks nice. Its family name or dynasty name is Abibal, and that is. I chose for that name because one of the first kings of Tyre was called Abibal, and he started kind of a royal dynasty. Not really sure if Baal Ezer was his grandson or not, but at least I was like, well, it will be fitting. They both have both names have something to do with the city, anyways. So that is good. Fun fact about the faith of the Phoenician faith, that is, as you can see, we have the Phoenician culture, but also the Phoenician faith, is that they love human sacrifices, which means normally you lose piety when you execute someone, but now it's earning me. And it also grants me the right for captives, so I can just attack every neighboring state just to go in for captives, which I or can execute or of course can give back for money. So that is quite interesting. And besides that, we got ancestor worship and patron god, so I can kind of decide to have my own, not really my own, but have a specific god back then to worship, so to say. And it comes with a couple of perks, if I'm right. I have to check it out where it was. This one, determine personal deity. And then you can decide on certain gods, and they get a title and a few perks like fertility, piety, prestige, and every god has something like that. But there are a lot, as you can see. So I have to go through it to see if I'm going to do that eventually. But yeah, there are some fun facts about it. So yeah, this is kind of the background story about the Phoenicians, and yeah, only thing I can say now is like, let's get on with it and see where we will end up. Anyways, thank you for watching already, and I hope you enjoy this. Yeah, during this game I will mainly show you some highlights, of course. I'll tell you more or less about the highlights. We kind of start off right away with the birth of our first heir, or my heir, so to say, Baal Ezer II. Oh, obvious, right? And it also brings us right away to our first war, quite soon after, to Rehob, I don't know how you pronounce it properly. But the main goal is, so to say, before I move north, we're taking a little bit on the east first, and then the southern part, and after that you will move on towards the north side. Not every war, not every fight will be shown in this video, because yeah, there were a lot, there were many. Some were kind of that easy that it was not really yeah, there was no point in showing it because it was not adding anything towards the game. In this point over here, that's right away the second war after, against Acre or Akko, you know what I told about. I made a sort of small mistake there. because I found out later on that I could have vassalized him easily instead of taking over his counties. But yeah, I only found out after I took his first county, and then I saw like, oh, I can vassalize him. Sorry about the coughing here and there. But yeah, then when I tried it, of course, he wasn't going to work with me on that point. Quite obvious. I would have done the same at that point. So yeah, it was. I'm not going to say it was frustrating, but it was a sort of mistake. It was like, well, I could have done it easily or easier than this. But yeah, and then kind of right after that, the Third War came up. As I said, I was going for the south first. It was against the Or, or how you pronounce it. All those names, I'm sorry. But yeah, that took a little bit longer because I was not fighting just a city-state. I was more or less fighting a bigger enemy. As you see, his armies also running around, even though that my army is stronger. I had to fight him a couple of times to get rid of him, so to say. And when I was able to capture their leader, then it was quite easy. And yeah, after that was the southern part was complete, so to say. So I decided to go north right after, and that's against the kingdom of Gbla. Was for the cities of Hildua and Sidon, and I kind of needed to defeat him to make sure I was able to get to the High Kingdom title I needed eventually. But yeah, this war took some time. Our armies were quite matched, even though that I lost the first battles against him. I tried a war before against him, or two wars even, for Sidon, the city I already took. But the first war I lost completely because he suddenly got an extra ally in there, and then it was like, oh goodness, what's happening here? But then I was lucky eventually to get an ally in on my side, and that kind of changed the war and changed the war score quite rapidly as well, which made it luckily easier to invade him again. You see his armies walking around, and eventually he has an ally coming in, or his ally is probably also still walking there somewhere. But yeah, his two armies are no match at that point against me. Oh, here is his ally coming in, but yeah, he not sure what he was trying to do there, because yeah, I think the AI didn't saw us or something. I have no clue, to be honest. But yeah, eventually we took the city-state we wanted, Hildua. But yeah, as his armies were at some point getting together, I had to do something about it. So I went to go south first to get rid of his armies there, because they were kind of sieging my capital all the time, which I wasn't really happy about. So that was kind of the first things I went after. But yeah, it's like I said, this is the third war I'm fighting against Gbla. As I said, I lost the one very hard, very fast as well. Even though that I had as my allies to come in, but suddenly they also had other wars to fight in, so I was eventually on my own there. So luckily, eventually I was able to turn it around and then finish his war, which I eventually win by capping their king. I just went after the army every time, and then at some point the moment was there, and then we were expanding further north. Another thing that's quite funny what the Phoenicians have is their own personal gods, so to say. Of course you have a religion, the Phoenician religion, but they also have, like, I think 20 different personal gods you can choose from, and it isn't really affecting something. how do you say it? Something within the religion itself, but it just gives you a certain bonus. In the meantime, as you also saw, the grandson, my grandson was born, so the heir of my son, of course called him Baal Asia III, as we do need a lot of those fellas in the family. But getting back to that god, the personal gods, they give extras, and like extras for kind of for your stewardship or martial things, but also for your whole lifestyle. That's what I was saying, but I meant also besides the lifestyle, also for your religion points or prestige or money. So it is quite nice that it gives you a good bonus on top of the on top of your own lifestyle points you have so far. Let's see, I wrote down indeed what I was doing all the time, because suddenly a lot of things happened. But as you can see, we went fighting Gbla again. I'm not really sure why they were after. It could have been a war for their side as well. But I eventually won that war again by taking their king hostage from one of the fights. And in the meantime, I'm also getting called to war by one of my allies further north. This war is not a big deal for me, so to say, but I was like, well, you're supporting me, well, let's support you as well then, right? As it should be. But that was. I'm not going to show that much about that war, because I have this war here first to fight Gbla off, which is still where I was a little bit outnumbered, as you can see, and I think eventually I had to retreat first again before I was able to win. I think this one is even that bad that I'm losing, because there are multiple wars I am fighting against them, but here it is that I kind of decide to surrender, and it was probably for the city of Hildua, the city-state, so eventually I will take it back. But it was a little bit annoying, because they kept on fighting me every single time. So if I'm looking into like what kingdom or duchy, or I'd say, did I fight the most, it was definitely Gbla, because they were, I think, kind of after the same thing, forming the High Kingdom, and that will come back eventually at the end of the video as well. But in the meantime, I'm just taking one extra city-state on the south side, which is needed as well. It makes it more obvious. But in the meantime, as I said, I fought many wars and I lost city-states, and I took them back and lost them again and took them back. And that's the same one with this here in the south again. As I said, I already took this one at start, as you probably remember. But at some point I lost it again. And I was like, give it back, I want it back. But at this moment, I had to fight a bigger enemy, so to say. But eventually we were able to win that war as well. And as you can see, here we go again against Gbla. In the meantime, I already took back the one they took from me. But it's like I had to fight them, and at this moment he was kind of weak because he just lost another war, so his armies weren't at the strongest point, so I didn't need my allies as well. So it was mainly trying to get to his army, defeat it again, and in the meantime just siege some cities down, especially the city I wanted, so that's the one we are sieging right now. But the main thing was kind of going after his army and defeat it every time. But here I'm losing again, which was a bit annoying, but it was also part of it all, part of this all. As I said, I've fought a lot of wars against them, and yeah, the majority I did win from them, but at some point, yeah, I had to decide on doing things differently. But yeah, so far I was still in the plus, still doing fine, and eventually we will win the war. I'm just, at this moment you see, I'm just searching for an ally in this war, and at some point he is joining me here, and then yeah, that is going to make me eventually win this war. So thank God for the allies, right? And I will help that ally also a couple of times in the future with wars far north, or far north. It is not that far north, but yeah, a little bit through the north. Here I'm quite lucky that I'm able to fight the army of Gbla and of his ally different from each other. So that's why I was able to capture or take his king hostage again. And here you see a small piece of where I did fight a lot of the wars with my allies. That was in the far north, current Turkey, so to say. And yeah, there's not much to see, because I just went here and I stayed with my army there, kind of holding it until, well, yeah, they lost the war eventually, if I'm right. But yeah, something happens, and here I am forming the High Kingdom of Gbla. I was able to get two duchy titles to be able to form this kingdom title, and yeah, I'm also changing it right away into Phoenicia, because that's of course the one we are playing with. But yeah, I wasn't also sure about the certain stuff, so I had to look into things, and here you see that I was able to or try to get certain vessels to vassalize me without going to war. But yeah, here I am just changing it all in Phoenicia. I also decided to change the whole coat of arms, which would make more sense to me, so to say. I went for the blue, and then I kind of added fishes, a fish on it. I'm not sure, I think I'm going yeah, that one. I was like, well, Phoenician, they were really a seafarer people, seafarer culture, sorry. So yeah, it's made sense for me, so to say, at the moment. And here you can see I kind of have already a big part going on there. And then, well, yeah, my character wasn't able to enjoy his High King title for a long time. He died eventually just of old age. But as you can see, the heir, or the new character, the new king, is not Baal-Ezer II, because he died during one of the plagues. And the stupid thing about it is that I wasn't aware of it, that he died. But he died, his whole family died, his children died as well. So yeah, I had to kind of start over with the whole naming part. So this guy got an heir as well, which we called Baal-Ezer III. So yeah, that was something I had to do to make sure that we keep the Baal-Ezer in our family names. Also, in the meantime, expanding towards the east. I know I said that I wasn't really going for the whole eastern part on the east side of the mountains, but I was like, hey, well, why not? Now that I'm here, let's go for it. And well, yeah, that kind of worked out eventually. Eventually, I'm taking every city-state, every county around the mountains you see on the top of the screen, and also on the bottom part of the screen. I'm going down on both sides, which I was like, well, if I compare it to an old map, so to say, then it should fit a little, mainly into what the Phoenicians were controlling back then. Yeah, you never know for sure, of course, because maps are just maps. You never know what happens there. And in the meantime, we had a plague again, and my children died again of the plague. So I have a new Balzer, and that's number 4. Yeah, it was quite stupid to call it number 3 again. So I went for Balzer. That is now the new heir of the Phoenician High Kingdom, or just the Phoenician Kingdom. It's how you want to call it. Doesn't really matter. And right after, yeah, I die of flagellation. I was wounded that badly. As you see, I was already wearing a mask and things like that. So yeah, it was kind of obvious that it was about to happen. So luckily we did have an heir of, I think he's around 6 years old at this moment. We do have some factions here and there who are not agreeing with the way things went, but yeah, in the end it is what it is. At this moment you see I'm already taking some other parts of alongside the mountains over there. This is the last piece to take, and after that the whole Phoenician claim I had made for myself is kind of complete or completed. Yeah, but then eventually a very annoying vessel came along. Well, first I have how do you say it? Yeah, the vessel came along saying, well, I am the right king in here, and you can guess where it comes from. Of course, Gbla. As I've always been fighting them among those titles, they were now kind of like, we're going to take over. And well, I was still in the middle of taking my last piece of land, as you can see. But yeah, this was kind of something important about to happen. So I was like, alright, readying myself, getting armies in, getting armies up and running, getting more allies, so we are able to fight them. Because yeah, it was a big army, so to say. But eventually, I was quite lucky. And it will probably show up in a sec. I didn't have to fight a war because the one who had the rights who had the claims on the title, the Queen of Gbla. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's still Gbla at this moment. I think it's another city or another name. She kind of died while giving birth to you never know, an heir, a daughter, another son, another child, and that also suddenly just happened, and I was like, okay, well, I'm really lucky here. Well, here you go. So the whole war was just gone, and there was no need for me anymore to fight it off, and that kind of marked also right away the end of this episode, almost at least. Here you can see the whole Phoenician kingdom as I formed, and I think is quite right if you compare it to maps. It was quite fun to fight it, so to say, to try and form it this way. It took some time, yes, because this video is like 30 minutes, but the whole recording was like 4.5 hours, I think. But while I have to admit that I also, as I said, I was fighting also a lot of wars and things like that. Here you see the whole family of Abibal, so to say, and total we had like 27 members, but at this moment there were only 10 alive or 12. Still a quite amount of time, but you see also a lot of dead people who died because of plague, a lot of young people as well. But yeah, it was fun to play this sort of scenario, this sort of goal, and I hope you enjoyed it as well, and hope to see you in one of my next episodes soon enough, which is probably going to be about Egypt, but then more serial-wise. Until then, bye bye.